Hello there, this is Heirs to the Kingdom channel, and in today's lesson we are doing chapters 25 and 26 in the book of Genesis. If you're new to this, it's a Bible study channel going through the King James Bible, not skipping anything in Scripture's command. So if you would, like, subscribe, and share this content, and we'll go ahead and get into the lesson. So last part of the lesson, we last time, Sarah, Abraham's wife, had passed away. Abraham purchased land with a cave on it to bury his wife. And so also Abraham sent a servant to find Isaac, his son, a wife. That's where Rebekah came in. They brought Rebekah back. She is his cousin. And this is very common. First cousins from brethren. Like I said, Abraham and Sarah were half brother and sister. Isaac and Rebekah are first cousins. The father of Rebekah is the brother of Abraham. And so they got married. And at the end of the last section was that Isaac was comforted after his mother's death because now he has a bride. So let's go ahead and continue on now with 25, verse 1. Then again, Abraham took a wife, and her name was Keturah. And she bare him Zimram and Jokshan, and Medan and Midian, and Ishbak and Shua. And Jokshan begat Sheba, and Jokshan begat Sheba and Dedan, and the sons of Dedan were Ashurim and Letushim, and Leumnim. That's a weird, I don't know how to even say that. Leumim. Lumim. Maybe that's where the word aluminum comes from. Luminescence. I don't know. But we do know the Bible continues on from the story from Isaac, then his son Jacob, and then from there forward. So these children of Abraham are not part of the Bible. They would have been raised, in godliness or understanding about God, being, circumcised and everything of that nature. I don't really remember the names too much, but I do think that they come into play later on as, the children after that probably quit following God and they might have been adversaries later on. Why? Because the Canaanites are relatives of the Israelites. They're, technically we're all relatives in one way or another, but the Canaanites are losing their land to the Israelites. So it says, well, see, it belonged to the Canaanites. Well, they're relatives, so it's still kind of keeping it in the family, so to speak. It's just going to a different lineage. Let's continue on here, though, verse 4. And the sons of Midian, Ephah and Epher, and Hanok and Abida, and Eldaah, all these were the children of Keturah. And Abraham gave all that he had unto Isaac. But unto the sons of the concubines which Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts and sent them away from Isaac his son while he yet lived eastward unto the east country. So here it is saying Abraham took a wife. But here it's calling her a concubine. I never really picked this up once before. And so I would say that now a concubine is a woman that's already been married to someone else, or is the second to someone that's already been married before. We would say second wife, there's that and the other. And I guess primarily in their lessons here, the first wife is the primary one. Anything after is still a wife or responsibilities of such, but not considered the main one. I'm not too sure about that. But normally, from when I looked up, concubine was the word used for a woman that had the responsibility of a wife without actually being one. But here in verse 1, it says, took a wife. So anyways, we're going to go from that. I said there's many ways to look at that. But the main thing we know of is it's not that important. How can I say this for certain? God did not condemn him for having a concubine. God did not condemn Abraham, for having a child with Hagar. Now here it does say took a wife, but didn't say she was a virgin. So that's probably what it's talking about here is a concubine is a woman that, since the man did not take her virginity, she's not fully a wife, but she has the responsibilities of. That's what I've always kind of read into it was. And most women that become maidservants were women that either lost their husbands in battle and couldn't get another one. No one wanted her, or this, that, and the other. Or she was deflowered by a gang or someone, whatever, a bad person, and then no one wanted her because she was no longer a virgin. So she would normally become a maidservant. That way she had ability to live. She would serve a woman or whatever, or a family. And if she was to be taken as, something of a wife, or someone was to marry her, she would, be a wife, but also pretty much classified as a concubine. Because she was deflowered, but someone else took her in. Anyways, let's continue on from that. We could probably talk about that type of stuff all day long. Because we got a lot of problems with sexual immorality today, and women thinking that they can call themselves a Christian while still doing OnlyFans and say, I'm a born-again virgin. No, you're not. Don't work that way, concubine. Most of them will never become a concubine because no man ever wants them whenever they start doing that type of stuff anyways, but regardless of that. Remember what scriptures always teach. Know a tree by the fruit that it bears. If she does not dress, act, and live godly, don't waste your time with her. And you women, same thing with men. If they don't dress, act, and live godly, showing, good fruits, Christian or, righteous fruits, move on. Anyways, continue on here, verse 7. And these are the days of the years of Abraham's life, which he lived, 160 years. So he lived quite some time. 60 was 60. So 15 added to 60. That's 75. So he was 175 years old. Verse 8. Then Abraham gave up the ghost and died in a good old age, an old man and full of years, and was gathered to his people. And his sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah, in the field of Ephron, the son of Zorah the Hittite, which is before Mamre. So Ishmael is technically Abraham's first son. And here it shows Ishmael had no ill will towards his brother, half-brother Isaac. Or he would not, or ill will towards his dad, Abraham. Because if that was the case, most people, they ain't going to show up at the funeral. But since he was 100 years old, or almost 100 when he had Ishmael, Ishmael had been an old man already. He'd be 75 years old, 76, somewhere in there. Isaac, of course, he had him after, I can't remember what he was. He was 100 and, Ishmael was already like 13 at the time. So almost 120, yeah. Either way, they both already had some age on them. Let's continue on here, verse 10. The field which Abraham purchased of the sons of Heth, there was Abraham buried and Sarah his wife. And it came to pass after the death of Abraham that God blessed his son Isaac, and Isaac dwelt by the well, Lahai-roi. Now these are the generations of Ishmael, Abraham's son, whom Hagar the Egyptian, Sarah's handmaid, bare unto Abraham. So here's the other thing, being a handmaid. If she would have been a virgin, she would have been classified as a wife. But she was not. Well, that's the rule of marriage, is whatever man takes on virginity is her husband. So she would have been his wife and would have been said as such, and that he put her away, which, clearly was not the case here. So for her to become a handmaid normally means that she couldn't find a husband. Let's continue on here, 13. And these are the names of the sons of Ishmael by their names according to their generations. The firstborn of Ishmael, Nebajoth, and Kedar, and Adbeel, and Mibsam, and Duma, and Massa, Hadar, and Tema, Jeter, Naphish, and Kedemah. These are the sons of Ishmael, and these are their names by their towns and by their castles, 12 princes according to their nations. And these are the years of the life of Ishmael, 137 years. And he gave up the ghost and died, and was gathered unto his people. And they dwelt from Havilah unto Shur, that is before Egypt, as thou goest toward Assyria, and he died in the presence of all his brethren. And these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begat Isaac. Here's that lovely word that we don't really care for that much, the begat word. Yeah, we're going to have a whole section, almost a whole chapter, with a little bit of a lesson inside of there, just talking about begat, so-and-so begat, so-and-so begat. But it is part of Scripture. We talked about it before, and this is so the Israelites can follow their lineage back, or anyone else studying the life of the Israelites says, well, who's that person's parents? Are they truly an Israelite? Is this book fake? Blah, 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 whatever. Verse 20. And Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Padan Aram, the sister of Laban the Syrian. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife, because she was barren, and the Lord was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. And the children struggled together within her, and she said, If it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. And some people think that this is where the Muslim stuff generations come from later on. It's from that, but Muslims don't even come onto the scene until, I don't know, how many years after the death of Jesus and everything else did, the Quran and the Muslim stuff even happen. So I don't know where to get that from. Anyways, let's continue on 24. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red, all over like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob, which is also translated heel catcher. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them. So he was already 60. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents. So one's an indoor boy, one's an outdoor boy. Verse 28. And Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of his venison, but Rebekah loved Jacob. And here's that mom with favoritism stuff. I wonder why that happened. Well, he's in a tent with her all day, and Esau's out in the field all day. So whoever you hang out with the most is who you normally get closer to. Just the way it is. 29. And Jacob sawed pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, Feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. And Jacob said, Sell me this day thy birthright. And Esau said, Behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do to me? And Jacob said, Swear to me this day. And he sware unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob for a bowl of pottage. Now, later on, Isaac doesn't know about this thing, but of course the mother will have known about this. So she makes sure that Jacob gets the birthright blessing, because more than likely Esau says, it don't matter what I say here, Dad's going to give it to me anyways. So later on as we read, Esau and Isaac are kind of closer together. So you got mama's boy and daddy's boy. But let's continue on here. 34. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. So God's pretty much saying, well, since you despise it, you don't want it, I know who I'm giving it to. Chapter 26. And there was a famine in the land, beside the first famine that was in the days of Abraham. And Isaac went unto Abimelech, king of the Philistines, unto Gerar. And the Lord appeared unto him and said, Go not down into Egypt, dwell in the land which I shall tell thee of. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with thee, and will bless thee. For unto thee and unto thy seed I will give all these countries, and I will perform the oath which I swear unto Abraham thy father. And I will make thy seed to multiply as the stars of heaven, and will give unto thy seed all these countries, and in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. Of course, that's always meaning Jesus. Verse 5. Because that Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws, and Isaac dwelt in Gerar. So here's our first lesson of that. Laws, charge, commandments, and statutes are all different. So we know that Jesus ended the Israelite law, but Jesus never changed the charge, the commandments, or the statutes. There's only stuff specifically for the Israelites that were changed. Verse 7. And the men of the place asked him of his wife, and he said, She is my sister. For he feared to say, She is my wife, lest, said he, the men of the place should kill me for Rebekah, because she was fair to look upon. So, of course, we have the son doing the same thing that his dad did, except the dad was not lying. And here, it's clearly not being truthful, because Rebecca is a cousin, is a relative before marriage. But just like today, back then, people coveted other people's beautiful spouses, and they would even kill to take them away. But let's continue on, verse 8. And it came to pass, when he had been there a long time, that Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked out at a window and saw, and behold, Isaac was sporting with Rebekah his wife. And Abimelech called Isaac and said, Behold, of a surety she is thy wife. And how saidest thou, She is my sister? And Isaac said unto him, Because I said, Lest I die for her. And Abimelech said, What is this that thou hast done unto us? One of the people might lightly have lain with thy wife, and thou shouldest have brought guiltiness upon us. And Abimelech charged all his people, saying, He that toucheth this man or his wife shall surely be put to death. Then Isaac sowed in that land, and received in the same year an hundredfold, and the Lord blessed him. And the men waxed great, and went forward, and grew until he became very great. For he had possession of flocks, and possessions of herds, and great store of servants. And the Philistines envied him. For all the wells which his father's servants had digged in the days of Abraham his father, the Philistines had stopped them, and filled them with earth. And Abimelech said unto Isaac, Go from us, for thou art much mightier than we. And that's that jealousy stuff. The proper thing says, hey, you're mightier than us. Why is this? Oh, you serve God. You serve the God. Okay. It's like, I keep thinking of people like the one on Longest Yards, like, can you teach me to football? Like, can you teach me to know God? Should have been the proper thing, but it says, no, let's tell them to leave and stuff, because we're afraid they're going to take over. And Isaac's not that type, but they never cared to know that. Let's continue on, 17. And Isaac departed thence, and pitched his tent in the valley of Gerar, and dwelt there. And Isaac digged again the wells of water which they had digged in the days of Abraham his father. For the Philistines had stopped them after the death of Abraham, and he called their names after the names by which his father had called them. And Isaac's servants digged in the valley, and found there a well of springing water. And the herdmen of Gerar did strive with Isaac's herdmen, saying, The water is ours. And he called the name of the well Esek, because they strove with him. And they digged another well, and strove for that also. And he called that name of it Sitnah. And he removed from thence, and digged another well, and for that they strove not. And he called the name of it Rehoboth. And he said, For now the Lord hath made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land. And he went up from thence to Beersheba. So here you are, got a bunch of lazy people letting these people do all the work, and they come and just take it. Do you think God's going to bless those people for doing such a thing? Especially going against his chosen people? Nah, ain't going to happen there. Some of the reasons why they lost their land to the Israelites is because the land is full of dishonest people. Verse 24. And the Lord appeared unto him the same night, and said, I am the God of Abraham thy father. Fear not, for I am with thee, and will bless thee, and multiply thy seed of my servant Abraham's sake. And he builded an altar there, and called upon the name of the Lord, and pitched his tent there, and there Isaac's servants digged a well. Then Abimelech went to him from Gerar, and Ahuzeth, one of his friends, and Phicol, the chief captain of his army. And Isaac said unto them, Wherefore come ye to me, seeing ye hate me, and haven't seen me away from you, and haven't sent me away from you? And they said, We saw certainly that the Lord was with thee, and we said, Let there be now an oath betwixt us, even betwixt us and thee, and let us make a covenant with thee, that thou wilt do us no hurt, as we have not touched thee, and as we have done unto thee nothing but good, and have sent thee away in peace. Thou art now the blessed of the Lord. And he made them a feast, and they did eat and drink. And they rose up betimes in the morning, and sware one to another. And Isaac sent them away, and they departed from him in peace. Yeah, Isaac didn't lower himself down to mention of the wells that they dug and were taken by some of his men, but that's when it's like, I'm going to let God handle those. We're good where we're at. Verse 32. And it came to pass the same day that Isaac's servants came and told him concerning the well which they had digged, and said unto him, We have found water. And he called it Sheba. Therefore the name of the city is Beersheba unto this day. And Esau was 40 years old when he took a wife, Judith, the daughter of Beri the Hittite, and Bashemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, which were a grief of mind unto Isaac and to Rebekah. Yeah, because he went ahead and took wives without, the tradition was the parents would choose the spouse, even for the sons, but Esau wants to do things his own way, and not really how things are supposed to be. Now, of course, Jacob goes and finds his own wife, but he goes to the land that his family's from to get his wife. So once again, it's going to be a relative. And because that's what God would want in this case. And I can't remember if that's the direction Isaac sent him or not. But I think it is. But either way, we'll get to that later. Right now, that's the end of this lesson. And because of decisions like that, it's the reason why we pray. Esau should have prayed, but he did things his own way. When you start bringing people into your life that is against God, they'll either be against you or pull you away from God himself. That's why you don't do stuff like that. You always pray before you make, decisions. Pray for the lost, the found, yourself, others, all people, all nations, all situations. Always something to pray for. And don't forget to give God all the praise, glory, and worship and thanks in everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the indifferent. I'm going to go ahead and end this lesson here. So until next time, God bless, good night, and goodbye.